guys, today we are going to talk about one really interesting mod, one of the oldest mods in the Rome Total War community, and one mod that was made that the original Viking Invasion, the expansion for the original medieval Total War before almost 20 years, was used as an inspiration for the creation of this mode. This mode actually revolves around the Viking Age. It starts in 851, and it's actually a very small mod. The map comprises the island of Britain, Ireland, a little bit of mainland Europe, and Denmark and Norway. In this version, I use also an update which adds another one faction, the East Angles. The factions are divided in 4 categories. We have the East Angles, the Northumbrians, the Mercians, and the West Saxons or Wessex, which represent the Anglo-Saxon factions of the era. Then we have the Celtic factions, such as the Welsh, actually probably more of a super faction. The Men of Leinster, that is the one of the 2 factions. I'm sorry for the pronunciation, probably I missed it somewhere. Men of Alba, that is what was later to be the Kingdom of Scotland, and the O'Neill, again I'm sorry for the pronunciation, that is the Irish faction, another one Irish faction. And of course we have the 2 Viking factions, the Danes and the Norwegians. This mod is very interesting. It has actually 2 historical battles. One historical battle, it is not from the Viking era, but from the era of the Anglo-Saxon expansion into modern-day England. That is the Battle of Durham in 577. As you can see, the units are very nicely made. They are kind of vanillish. They have low polish, but they are very, very beautifully done. This, for example, Arthur's Swordsman reminds the Comitatensis Swordsman of the Invasion Barbarian series that we see later, of the late antique mods regarding the fall of the Roman Empire. And here we have this typical array of units. So this is the one historical battle, and also the second historical battle is the raid on Lindisfarne. That is the Viking raid that's considered to have signaled the beginning of the Viking Age. And actually it is more like a raid rather than a battle, where the Northumbrian player has to defeat a host of about 70, so to say, Vikings, and we have also these Lindisfarne monks. It's very interesting. And let's see the factions. Unfortunately, in custom battles there are not many settlements. There are not any settlements offered, but only like positions for battle, and as a result it is not possible to play a siege battle. This can be fixed by modding, and also many more places might be added by modding. And as a result, as we have analyzed the 10 factions, aside of course the rebels, we will throw a look on their units. Here we have the West Saxons and the Danes, 2 particularly characteristic units. We'll have the Mercians, we'll have the Northumbrians, Norwegians were actually, they have also berserkers, those pagan warriors, those powerful pagan warriors. Then, of course, Men of Alba, the Welsh. So we don't have probably enough space for all of them, and the put all of them East Anglians. Actually, the Saxons have this typical array of foot soldiers, such as the Royal Hearth, the Thanes, the Armour Spearmen, the Select Fyrd, and the Ferdmen. And they have, of course, as it was historical known, very few or almost non-existent cavalry, at least for combat operations. Then we have the Mercians, who also have horsemen, but they are, as in every Saxon faction, they are totally infantry based. We will see also there is another one, Wonder Unit, that is totally a historical and probably was added by the creators in order to just for the fun of it. That is some Welsh dwarfs. They're not historical. They have blunderbusses, and probably they came from the world of Tolkien. Then we have, of course, Kingdom of East Anglia. More or less, the Anglo-Saxon factions are similar. They have powerful infantry and very light militia class cavalry, which is not used particularly. They are only basic cavalry. But as true Anglo-Saxons, they rely on infantry. And the Northumbrians too. I have actually to say that there is a plethora of mercenary units. There are mercenary Ostmen, that is Norse heavy infantry serving in Gallic armies. There are mercenary Bootscarls, Norse heavy infantry serving in the armies of English kings, and mercenary Jomsvikingar of Jomsborg, are legendary in Scandinavia elite mercenary company, which probably is among the most powerful units in the game. Let's have a look on the Norwegians, the first Viking faction. The Vikings actually are one of the most. They're extremely ferocious. They have an advantageous starting position in the on the campaign map. Denmark and Norway have similar rosters. The only difference is that Denmark can field cavalry, and on the other hand, Norwegians, they do not have any kind of cavalry, but they do have berserkers. They are pagan warriors. I believe once the human player turns Christian, they will not be available anymore. Of course, the Celtic factions, they have an array of cavalry, light infantry, long spearmen, and they have also Christian monks. I don't know for what reason. In the custom battle selection, only the Men of Alba have monks. So we have also an Irish faction, two Irish factions actually, which are old-fashioned but effective mix of light armored forces, including monks. Oh my god! And the Irish have monks. The Irish factions tend to have a more diverse roster than the Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings. It's a very nice mode. It is very light. It has very beautifully done, but at the same time very simple units. So we will have a look on the Danes, and we will check also one faction from each cultural group in order to see what are the strengths and the weaknesses of each faction and the characteristics of the mode. Let's uncover the entire map. As it is extremely interesting, we have Denmark and Norway apparently are much closer to the British Isles rather than as it is in real geography, but this is probably for exclusively for molding reasons. They could not create the entire northern sea. As a result, the edge of Jutland and Scandinavia is somewhat more pushed toward the west, which is clear, which is entirely clear. So we have Ragnar Skalding, the king. The Danes are pagans. Also because in order to represent the poverty, the relative poverty of the era and the lack of development in these European Dark Ages, there are not large cities or large towns. There are only small towns, fortresses, forts, which gives also another one kind of sense of backwardness in this era, unlike classical modes of classical antiquity, or even modes of High Middle Ages that we'll see later. Here we see the Danish settlements, actually the captured territory of the Danes of England. Yes. Very beautiful units, nicely done unit cards, very interestingly done unit cards. There is a high unrest since the Danes captured Christian communities, predominantly, at least it's 50-50, but predominantly Christian communities. And as a result, there is always a high unrest when a Norse faction captures Christian settlements. The Vikings are very powerful, no matter whether the Danes or the Norwegians. They're at war with the entire map, with all the factions aside the Norwegians, of course. Here we see also the very beautifully done Viking fleet. And also, here is a campaign map. We see the Hadrian's Wall, which is kind of ruined at this time. It is put on the map for purely aesthetical reasons, and that is a very nice. That's a very nice idea. Here we have London, which is somewhat
forward. Move. Joining forces. March.
Probably it's not fortified. We have also very beautiful markers on the map, such as the old Roman road allows armies to march efficiently at speed, also adds to trade income, and there is also meat, which does not exist in other modes. It's a valuable trade resource with the barrow that we see. It's very beautiful, and also, if I'm not mistaken, yes. Honey, a valuable trade resource, antlerwork. So we have a beautiful, very beautiful products on the map, which are made three-dimensional, and they do not exist. So it will be stupid, of course, to see some like Greco-Roman pottery here. The map is huge. Particularly the islands are done very well in order to depict the Norse expansion. Here we see Ireland, which is also divided into the two playable factions, and probably the rebels also represent all these Irish petty kingdoms. And we have here the Norse settlement in today's Dublin and in Cork. As a result, the Norwegians, they have settled different like trading outposts around the British Isles. Here we have the faction of Wessex, which is West Saxon, with a West Saxon royal residence. Here we have Danish royal residence. And let's check an Anglo-Saxon faction, and we will check, of course, the faction of Wessex. The faction of Wessex was a kingdom that eventually, within a century, united England and founded the Kingdom of England. Wessex is very interesting at this time, since we have also a damaged trader. It is very interesting. We have Ethelwulf, the king, and I believe Alfred is still a minor. Actually, he's a baby, 2 years old. And the heir to the throne is the 31-year-old Athelstan, who is Roman Christian. That means one of the interesting aspects of this game is that while there are only two religions, Christianity and paganism, the Celtic factions and the Anglo-Saxon factions have a different version of Christianity. That means that if you bring Celtic troops and they conquer Anglo-Saxon settlements, probably you will have unrest. Since here we have Roman Christianity, we have the trait that he's crowned. That means probably the faction leader or the future faction leader needs to be for at least a turn, if I'm not mistaken, in the capital. It is extremely difficult to build mass armies. This mode revolves around very small forces, which is kind of historical. No faction is in position to master enormous armies like in the time of the Roman Empire. And this is a very nice historical presentation. Here we have the Mercians and the East Anglians, and all the way to the north there is the Northumbrians, who were the very first victims of the Viking raids. So we have the Lindisfarne, that is the monastery that was attacked in 1792 by the Vikings. It was their first victim. So the Anglo-Saxons, like the Norwegians and the Danes, they are not in the position to recruit and create large armies. They are Roman Christian. And exactly this mod represents very nicely the darkness of the era. So to say, the poverty, the extent of small settlements. It's a very nice mod actually, since it is centered around the British Isles. It does not go very far away from the British Isles. So we have the Men of Leinster here, which will be the last faction. We have picked one faction from each cultural group. You see, Varna, capital. We have also different churches, but not different religion. The differences appear in the traits. This man has a basic belief in the tenets of Christianity. He prefers the traditional styles of worship in the Celtic Christians, and may cause some discomfort. So yes, we not talk about different religion, but different, of course, way of practicing Christianity. May cause some discomfort in those provinces whose populace prefer the Roman practices and forms. So it has a Christian conversion, but plus the rest in Anglo-Saxon provinces, very, very nice historical detail that was done by the team. It is extremely difficult. Whoever has played this mode, is extremely difficult to hold territory, while it is relatively easy to capture territory, since most settlements are not walled, it is extremely difficult to hold territory. It is one of the most beautiful mods that I have seen. Not only it is beautiful in its true and authentic and detailed historical representation, but in its own simplicity. As a result, it is one very nice mod. What I have, of course, to state is that as a Total War modder, we have only here 10 factions, and the factions could be doubled. As a result, we could represent more PT Anglo-Saxon factions, Viking factions, and Celtic factions. As a result, this is, while on one hand it's a complete mod, on the other hand there is considerable room to expand this mode in order to add more factions, in order to create more scenarios. It is one of the most beautiful and most interesting modes. Thank you for today, and I hope to download and enjoy this mode. Have a good day.